So here we go, week 3, a circular sock.
All right, before I finish any other project, I'm going to knit another sock. I'm not going to do 4-ply or 5-ply because I don't have any. However, I did have a request for the circular sock. After all the failures of the last two for fit on my feet, we're going to do a circular sock, 3-ply yarn in F. So I'm going to take my highlighter again, and we're going to highlight F instead of G. So F, 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 F. I think you kind of get the idea. I don't have to keep repeating myself. Ooh, almost did the wrong one. Okay, let's read this. We're going to cast on 69 stitches for knit 1 purl 1 rib, tension 3. We're going to rib for 25 rows, transfer all the stitches to the main bed, remove all the weights, drop the ribber bed, tension 5, decrease 1 stitch, knit 2 rows, and then we're going to remove the piece on the waist yard. Then we're going to rehang it on 17 stitches from either side of the seam. So, okay, so you divide it in half and you hang it back on the machine. Place 34. Okay, so 17 on either side of 0. And then it'll be 34 stitches below onto the ribber needles. Undo all your waist yarn. I would actually use it to weigh down your project. Raise ribber bed, set pitch lever to align the needles. Replace comb weights through the ribbing. Set machine for circular knitting, as in ribber instruction book. RCO knit in circulars, so row count 0. Knit in circular for 32 rows. Row count reads 64. So 32 times 2 is 64 because it's two counts on the row counter for one actual round of circular knitting. Adjust the leg length here, shape heel, drop ribber bed, set main carriage for stockinette stitch, return levers for partial knitting. On side opposite of carriage, bring last needle to holding position, knit 1 row, hook wool under, blah blah blah. Repeat steps 18 and 19. You have 17 more times. 16 stitches in working position in center. Bring needles to working position by pushing 1 inside needle back on side opposite carriage each row 18 times. All needles are now in working position. Raise the ribber bed, hang on the weights, reset for circular, row count 0, straight, knit straight for 72 rows, row count reads 144. Shape toe. Using 2-eye transfer tool, move 2 stitches in one place at beginning and end of row on both beds. Push empty needles out of action. Repeat step 24 every 4th carriage movement, so every 2 rows, until 24 stitches remain in the center of each bed. Decrease as step 24 every 2nd carriage movement 1 row, until 8 stitches remain on the bed. Join in odd yarn and knit several rows and remove from the machine. Knit another sock the same way. So instead of doing another partial knitting, what it wants you to do is it just wants you to reduce for the toe and kind of make an elf toe, which I'm okay with. So that's what we're going to do today. Let's get started.
All right, we done enough talking. Let's get knitting.
Okay, so that's 30. That's 60. 63. 66. 67. 68. 69. So we have 34 left, 35 right. I'm going to put it into 1x1 configuration. I'll bring my carriage over top. Move it over. I'm switching out to my connecting arm. Raising my ribber. Now I'm going to raise the opposite needles. All right. I am not going to do the E-wrap and like I've been doing before. We are just going to knit regular. If that makes any sense. Row count to 0. Tension to 0. I'm going to move my camera. Okay. Tension to 0. Tension to 0. Knitting. Nothing pressed. Now we're going to knit across. I'm going to do my best to keep my head out of the shot, so wish me luck. We're at 0. We're dropping the yarn between the beds. Picking it up from in behind. Locking it in. Grabbing a clip. Clipping it. Deep breath. Everything looks good. One row. Okay, that's the cast on row. And I gotta find my cast on comb again. Okay, as usual. Hang on. Alright, I found it. Through the center. There, that's about 0. I'm going to do 2 small ones again, because that's usually where I start, and then I figure out if I need more. Okay, now I'm going to change some settings on my knitting machine. Alright, so I need to make sure that I'm going in part on the ribber when I go to the left, and I need to be in part on the main bed going to the right, so they're opposite. I need tension 2 to start with for these 3 rows, and now we're going to knit those 3 rows. Here we go. One, 2, 3. All right. Now we have to change some setups. Out of part into tension 3, out of part into tension 3. Reset row counter to all zeros. Double check with pattern. Tension 3, rib, 25 rows. So we're in tension 3, we're going to rib for 25 rows. Here we go. All right, I'm going to add some extra weight. Oh, looks like I have something not knitting off. I'm going to add my 7 weight at this point. So a 7 weight between the beds, straight down. All right, let's continue. And that is 25 rows. We're now going to transfer everything to the main bed. And yeah, I'm going to pause. All right, I just got these last couple on this side. Instructions. Okay, so now what do we do? Tension 5. Drop river. Gently. All right. And now we need to switch out our connecting arm for our sinker plate. And knit 2 rows. All right. Let's review. Tension 5, sinker plate. Nothing special, going to knit 2 rows. Let's make sure that I'm not misremembering. Oh, decrease 1 stitch, knit 2 rows. Okay, let's not forget to decrease that 1 stitch. So we go down to 34 and 34. Decrease 1 stitch. Okay, so 34 and 34. Knitting 2 rows, tension 5. 1, 2. Do not cut your yarn at this point. You want to just put it to the side, and now we're going to remove this entire piece on waste yarn. I'm actually going to move this to the other side because of where it is on the tension mast. All right, I'm going to knit tension 10. Totally contrasty color here. That's probably enough. I'm now going to latch tool it off. That way it stays secure. I don't lose anything. And then we'll come back. So, take it off the machine. Do not cut your working yarn. Only cut your waste yarn. Even though the rules say to remove your waste yarn, I don't. And I don't remove it because that would be my safety line. So if anything happens and I have to reverse this entire sock, I can go right to the ribbing and then I can do it circular again. So just keep that in mind when you're first starting out with socks, that you don't have to remove the waste yarn until you are actually ready to remove the waste yarn, to make sure that you have everything going the way you expect it to. So there's my little word of advice. And now I'm just going to keep latch tooling this off, and then we'll remove it. Okay, that's the last stitch. Now, I'll have to wait on there. We now need to work on 34 stitches.
What's next? We're going to go circular.